All right, so it's a new year and you have your New Year's resolutions out, or at least you should. In this video, I'm going to be telling you how you can make this new upcoming year the best year that it has ever been. So let's just get started. Let's just get straight to it. The first big tip I have for you is consistency. Consistency matters more than starting off your year with this huge kick in the nuts, because this happens every single year. I've seen it every year. I used to be that guy who watched those New Year's resolutions, and I would hear this advice, or I would see people say, you got to start off the year with a kick and a bang, and you got to go to the gym. And almost every single year, what I see happen is pretty much everyone's flooding the gym, and then within a couple weeks, no one's there anymore. And this is something not only do I see at the start of every year, especially in January, March, January to March, the first 3 months of the year, but also every Monday in the gym, even in November, even in December, August, every month of the year. I also see that at the start of every week, everyone floods to the gym because they're like, hey, I want to start off this week right, and by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no one's at the gym anymore except me. So I want to really nail this down. Consistency matters more than, going to the gym and just pounding it out, or whatever your goal is. It matters more that you go consistently. The total amount of time you put in matters more. And that's why it's sometimes a lot better to go for a shorter amount of time every day if you can keep it consistent, rather than this huge chunk that burns yourself out. And I learned that the hard way many years ago. And so now I want to give you a technique I invented to really help you out on doing that. I call it the nibble technique. And the basic idea is that you choose a commitment that is so easy that you can't help but not do it. And for me, it was go to the gym for 2 minutes every day. And after 2 minutes, you can leave. And it was so ridiculously easy that it got me into the gym, and it formed the habit. And then once I was very confident with it being secured in, that's when I was finally comfortable with increasing the amount of time I spent. And now I can spend, an hour plus at the gym consistently every day. So that's the big lesson for you. It's about total time spent. And sometimes it's easier, quicker, more convenient, less stressful, and more fun to spend less time at the gym, but more frequently. And it doesn't have to be the gym. This can be applied to any other task or good habit that you want to form. So that's the first big thing. Now, the second big thing is really try and map out what you want your lifestyle to be like. Look into the future, whether it's 50 years or 20 years. Look far into the future and really look at yourself and ask yourself, what type of lifestyle do I want to live? What type of person do I want to be? And as long as it's like not hurting anyone else, that's something that you can work towards and reverse engineer. And you basically walk back to where you are now and ask yourself, what baby steps can I take to move myself towards doing that? So it's also a good time to really set those steps forward. And the final tip that I want to give you is take some time to reflect on the year that just passed, and figure out what you have done that's you could have done better, what things that you did do, because your brain is wired to kind of it has a 10-to-1 ratio to focus and emphasize the negative events more than the positive events. So therefore, you really have to celebrate your improvements, the things that you achieved in the previous year, even if they're not much, and then reflect on your lessons learned, your mistakes, and your failures, and see what you can do to improve from there. So I just want to conclude by using all these tips that I just mentioned on myself to give you a bit of an example on how you can use this. So I want to start with the reflection one because I just think that's the most fun and interesting one. And we'll focus on a specific area that I'm trying to improve. So one of my side goals for this last year was to make my lifestyle more fun. And arguably, I accomplished that in a way, kinda, you'll see. So in the last year, I was able to do a lot of fun activities. I went to a 10-mile corn maze. I went to another corn maze. I witnessed the firing of literally 5-meter long pumpkin cannon. I also saw all sorts of other interesting things. I took salsa classes, cha-cha classes, foxtrot classes. I learned a lot of dance. I joined a sand volleyball league. I explored all these different parks and areas. There's all sorts of cool stuff I did. I did archery and learned archery for the first time in like 10 plus years. That was pretty cool. And I tried out some new interesting drinks and foods, apple cider, all sorts of cool stuff. And on top of that, went to some really cool networking, personal development seminars and classes, including Toastmasters, which is a public speaking course. And then on top of that, I think I released quite a few YouTube videos, started and launched my blog and podcast, all centered around personal development, focused on a theme to that stuff, and really have learned a lot through all the books that I read this last year, which were also incredible. I mean, I read a ton of books on marketing, business, self-development, habit formation, all sorts of stuff, copywriting, and the list goes on. I can't even remember them all. The biology and science of human attraction and mating, all sorts of really interesting, incredible books. And it's so much that I can't even remember them all off the top of my head to tell you. And now that may seem all cool and amazing, but in reality, there were large stretches of time, maybe weeks, if not months in between that, which were quite boring. And I think that's how most people's lives are. They're quite boring. And despite all this cool stuff, which I was able to kind of do on a budget, there's a lot of room for improvement. Now I'm celebrating the wins, but in quite honesty, my life is still quite boring in a lot of ways. But it was much more eventful than the previous year, where it was just long stretches of months sometimes, which I would have deemed, generally speaking, quite boring, where I just, didn't have much to do and played a lot of video games. So it took a lot of effort, but there's definitely improvement there. So that's kind of like the reflection process at play. And I think it's just, there's a lot of great lessons to be learned here. First, the biggest lesson, or one of the biggest, is that social media, I think, is definitely one of those curation tools where, a lot of people, they have these great lives, and it's a deception because it's just a curation of their best moments or the most fun moments, and their real lives may be miserable or boring. And so for me, I have to realize that, and I also have chosen to emphasize the fact that I don't want to be that type of person who's like pretending to have an awesome life when their life sucks, and just being honest with the fact that my life is not like that. So that's the first thing. The next big lesson, and I think this might be very helpful to you, is in terms of fun and experience. I learned that it's also a lot more about perspective and mindset than actually just having more and more fun experiences. And I kind of learned this through studying a lot of super successful, wealthy people who have kind of numbed themselves just naturally. There's actually a concept from the study of the science of happiness that describes this, and it's called the hedonic treadmill. And basically, we get used to everything. We get used to all the pleasures that we get. So if you get rich, like a lot of these rich people I've studied, a lot of them just kind of quickly take for granted their super fun-packed lifestyles. All the funnest things that they could try and do, whether it's like jet skiing down a mountain or traveling to some exotic hotel on some island that costs tens of thousands of dollars a day to stay at, they get used to it, and their enjoyment, pleasure, fun is just like normal to them, and it's kind of like cocaine, like you have to take more and more hits of this drug to get the same effect. So the point is, I coined a term or a process that is just a fancy term I like. It's called sensory deprivation, or not sensory, that's the wrong term, voluntary deprivation. And it's the basic idea, again, forget about that fancy term. The basic idea is that sometimes you just need to appreciate and voluntarily choose the simpler things in life. You know, even if you're super rich and you can afford to go on a gold-plated yacht for the day, take a week or a day to just live a really simple life, so that you can kind of like ratchet back down. And I've kind of stumbled on this in numerous ways. For example, you probably noticed this happens with food as well. I'm a huge lover of food, and there were times when I really just did not have the money to afford Chipotle or a really moderate priced fast food chain. And when I finally did, I had spent months thinking about it and savoring it and comparing it to the plain tasting food, so that when I finally got it, it tasted amazing. But then you get to a point where you're able to eat this every day, and it doesn't taste good anymore. So what do? You take a week or a month where you just kind of ratchet back down to plain tasting food, and it really just resets you. It makes you appreciate those things again. And I found the same thing with water, like the taste of water, that beautiful, crystal clear, cold, refreshing taste of water. You kind of forget about that when you drink water all this time. And I remember one time where I was just really, really thirsty after exercising and not having water and not being able to access water for a while. Now, don't dehydrate yourself because that's really unhealthy, but it really made me reappreciate any type of drink again. So I just think that's really important. And when you see all these people from third world countries who don't have anything and they're happy and they're having the time of their lives playing with sticks on the ground, you kind of realize that it's more about perspective. So I think that's a huge lesson and a reflection to really keep in mind at all times if you want to strive towards these similar goals. So now we want to move on to the other tips: consistency and looking at how you can improve. So one thing I want in the future is to really have a life like Warren Buffett's, where he tap dances to work every day. Whatever it is that I do, whatever it is, I don't have to make billions of dollars, but I want something where I can just have incredible fun all the time. And this is more so something that I've found comes from the act of a skill, doing something, a sense of flow. And it doesn't usually come from what I just mentioned, materialistic things, whether it's food, drink, pleasure, lifestyle, events. And so Warren Buffett found that in his love of studying businesses. And for me, I've definitely found certain things that I'm interested in like that. And so I'm just really trying to figure that out. And even another thing was, even though all those events I did mention, like archery and all that stuff, it was fun, but not really that fun for me. In certain ways, I liked video games more. But I did like the variety and the fact that I wasn't, in my room playing video games, on the computer, doing more electronics again, and then actually being active and out and about and doing something productive, seeing the world, and talking to people. So again, I think it's a natural part to discover it. So my reflections towards the future would be, I would walk back from that goal and really figure out what I can do for the next year to consistently move towards that. And just as an example, for now, I think a good action step might just be maybe once a week or twice a week for just 20 minutes each time. I should spend time to really check in on what I like doing, what I'm having the most fun doing, and try out new things if I've still not really figured that out, and then double down and spend more time and schedule that time for the things I am doing. So that's kind of the process for me, and maybe you can really use this to your effect. But again, you see these every single year, and it always goes down the same. People release content to inspire or motivate you to do a New Year's resolution. And for the first time, I'm doing one of these videos myself because it's kind of the same old thing. But it's not going to be for you, because those people are average folk. Like the great majority, the crowd, they're just going to keep repeating the same process, not getting any results, because they start off the first few months of the year, the first couple of days of every week, going hard, and then they stop going to the gym, they stop doing stuff. That will not be you. Focus on consistency. While everyone else is going to the gym at the same times, peak hours, just relax. Go on Tuesday, go on Friday instead. And instead, don't spend that much time there. Just spend enough where you think you can keep it consistent. It might just be 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And you will know that in the long run, you will win out. So that's it for this video. And I think this is really going to help you, not just on setting goals and accomplishing them, but at some of the more larger overarching mindsets and perspectives that will help you through life. Again, it's one of those things about just how it's not just about getting more. It's about keeping a level ground so that you don't just get used to all this like fun stuff and not really take time to appreciate what you have, enjoy what you have, and really pretty much move forward while actually enjoying it. So that's it for this video. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.